welcome. I have to tell you, it's nice to have a full house. It was kind of light this summer, so great to see so many people here. And hello to those who are watching from home. Ms. Beam, you want to call roll?
Sure. Mr. Babbitt?
Here.
Mr. Boyd?
Here.
Mrs. Johan?
Here.
Mr. Kuhn? Mrs. Reagan?
Here.
Mrs. Steele?
Here.
Dr. Yurkovich?
Here. If you would please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And welcome board. Item 2.01, an agenda to adopt. Is there a motion?
I move to adopt the agenda as presented.
Second. Motion by Brad Boyd, second by Becky Johan.
Mr. Boyd?
Yes.
Mrs. Johan?
Yes.
Mrs. Reagan?
Yes.
Mr. Babbitt?
Yes.
Mrs. Steele?
Yes.
Dr. Yurkovich?
Yes. Recognitions and awards. Ms. Grubach.
Yes. Well, welcome everyone. We are excited to have a packed house tonight and welcome our students and staff back for recognitions. So to begin our recognitions this evening, we have a lot of spring sports state champions that we would like to recognize. So to kick us off, I would like to invite the Olathe West softball team, along with their coaches and assistant principal Pat Butler and district athletic director Matt Johnson, up to the front. We are so excited to share that this spring, the Owls softball team reclaimed the top spot, winning their second state championship title in 3 years. West defeated Washburn Rural in the championship game with a final score of 8-7 to cap off a 28-1 season. We are so proud of these ladies for their accomplishment and for representing the Olathe Public Schools. Please join me in a round of applause. To do some stacking. We may need to
try just like a squish together like that's just a friend and that doesn't work.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. All right, Pat, you can stay up front because next I would like to invite our Olathe West boys and girls track and field champs to the front along with their coaches. So we had individual and team champs this year from Olathe West. This spring, the Olathe West boys track team was named the 6A state champion at the state track and field for the second year in a row. But as I mentioned, we also had several individual students win titles. So congratulations to Tevin Gassaway on winning the 200-meter race, Cade Zimmerman on winning the Javelin Championship, and the boys 4x100 team made up of Braden Johnson, Bryce Austin, Caden Richardson, and Tevin Gassaway, who took home the state title. On the girls' side, we were proud to recognize the girls 4x800 team made up of McKenna Taldo, Liz Browning, Lainey Clements, and Jasmine Steed, who also took home a state title. Congratulations.
Remember how we stacked them? I'll like pull you guys out. Everyone shift over to a little bit center. Squish together like the best of friends.
make your way over there, we do have some certificates for the individual champs too, so we'll hand those out. Okay, keeping on the theme of track and field, I would now like to invite up Olathe North's Jalen Watson, along with his coaches and athletic director Josh Price. Perfect. We are proud to celebrate Jalen for winning the 6A state title in boys triple jump. Jalen was not only recognized for his skills in triple jump with a final leap of 47 feet, 3.25 inches, but his talents in track and field, the basketball court, and in the classroom earned him the title of the Kansas City Stars Male Scholar Athlete of the Year, which was announced earlier this summer. Yeah. Jalen graduated with us this spring and plans to attend, I believe, Wesleyan University in Connecticut this fall, where he will continue his basketball career. So please join me in congratulating Jalen. Okay, the track and field recognitions continue. So our Olathe Northwest boys and girls track and field champions can come to the front now, along with their coaches and principal, Chris Sook. So Olathe Northwest had several individual and small team champions at the 6A state tournament, and tonight we are proud to honor the boys 4x800 team made up of Carson Madsen, Benjamin Herbst, Tyler Palangi, and Dexter Favreau for claiming the state title. In addition, Mishna Eritus brought home multiple medals, claiming the title in the and the long jump. So congratulations, students. Our final track and field champions are from Olathe South, so come on up along with your coaches and athletic director Andrew Miller and principal Sean Demery. The Falcons had 3 individual state champions in the 6A boys track and field events, and tonight we are proud to recognize Dylan Plath for winning the 800-meter race, along with Peter McSwaney, who took home the title in discus, and Jeremy Gracia, who took home the title in shot put. Congratulations. Okay, I think that concludes our student recognitions for the evening. So now we are excited to recognize several of our staff members. And to kick us off, I would like to invite Central Elementary Principal Brandy Leggett to the front. I love it. She has her own cheering squad and everything. We are so very proud to celebrate Brandy tonight, who was recently announced as the 2025 Area 1 Kansas Elementary Principal of the Year by the Kansas Principals Association. KPA is an organization of over 750 building-level leaders from across Kansas. Candidates were nominated by their school communities and selected by a committee of their peers. They were evaluated on their school leadership, school improvement, dedication, professionalism, and service to students. Of course, when we heard Brandy had been named the Area Elementary Principal of the Year, it came as no surprise to us. She's known as somewhat of a rock star when it comes to educational leadership, and those who saw her school spotlight here at a board meeting not long ago know why. She's a master at creating opportunities for students, building community, and holding her students and staff to high standards. She's an Olathe North alum, a finalist for the Kansas Teacher of the Year, a recipient of the Presidential Award for Excellence in Math and Science Teaching, teaching and is a national board certified teacher, among other accolades. When asked about the award, Brandy shared that she loves bringing real-world learning opportunities to her school and instilling a passion for community service for all her students. She went on to say that the award is a tribute to her amazing colleagues who are here tonight, dedicated staff, and supportive families, and it is a recognition of the teamwork to create a great environment for students to thrive. We are so proud to have Brandy here in Olathe, but are also proud to share that we had not one but two administrators represented this year. Earlier this summer, we were able to honor Krista Duringer, who was honored as the Assistant Principal of the Year. So gosh, how lucky are we to have two rock stars in our leadership roles. So please join me in giving Brandy a round of applause for her distinguished honor. Okay, and also, we've got a cheering squad. Come on up, get in the picture too with Brandy. Yeah.
Hey, give it up for these people coming.
That's right.
So I'll do 5, 6, 12, 11, 5. Yeah, big smile, ready, 1, 2, 3, say go baby.
All right. Next, I would like to invite Manchester Park Elementary nurse Bev Vanderslice to the front, along with Principal Jenny Steele and Director of Health Services Sarah Gilliland. In May, Bev was surprised at an all-school assembly when they announced that she had been named the School Nurse of the Year by the Kansas School Nurse Organization for her exceptional dedication, professionalism, and impact on student health and well-being. This prestigious honor is awarded annually to a Kansas school nurse who exemplifies excellence in school nursing practice. Eligible recipients must be registered professional nurses with a minimum of 5 years' experience in school nursing, be current and recent members of their professional organization, and spend at least 50% of their time providing direct care to students. Nurse Bev's compassionate care, clinical expertise, and unwavering support for students and staff alike make her a vital part of the Olathe Public Schools community and the Manchester Park community. Please join me in honoring Bev Vanderslice. Awesome, thank you. All right. And last but certainly not least, I would like to invite Olathe South biology teacher Robin Dennis to the front, along with Assistant Principal Andrew Miller and Principal Sean Demery. Robin was named the 2025 Outstanding Biology Teacher Awardee for the state of Kansas. Presented by the National Association of Biology Teachers, this is one of the most prestigious honors in science education. Since its inception in 1962, the award has recognized outstanding biology and life science teachers across all 50 states and beyond. Each year, they select educators who exemplify excellence in the classroom, leadership in the profession, and dedication to student success. Ms. Dennis stood out not only for her innovative teaching, but also for her meaningful impact on colleagues and the broader science education community. Julie Miller, Olathe Public Schools Science Coordinator, shared that Robin's ability to support and uplift other educators, meet colleagues where they are, and advocate for excellence in biology education is truly inspiring. Her teaching peers were equally impressed by her application and welcomed her into the long-standing tradition of OBTA recipients. We're proud to celebrate Robin's well-deserved recognition and are grateful for her continued leadership in shaping future scientists and science educators. Congratulations, Robin.
Thank you, Ms. Grubaugh. And another congratulations to all of those recognized this evening. The next section are our presentations, and we'll start with Brent Kiger and Dr. McMullen, Safety Services.
All right, well, good evening, and thanks to the board for allowing us the opportunity to share a little bit about our safety services programming and provide some updates and some changes for this school year. We'll start with kind of a bond update from the 2022 bond and the projects that we've been wrapping up. Those include video servers, elementary interior cameras, which again were new to our elementary schools, access control at both the high school and middle school, upgrades there, increased vape detectors at both middle and high school. We had a crisis alert hardware upgrade that Mr. Kiger will speak to here in a little bit, and then some additional building radios and additional night lock devices. You know, our safety services team, we're really fortunate in Olathe to have the team that we do. Brent Kiger, who you'll hear from here shortly, leads our team as our executive director. Brad Caldwell, 30-year veteran of the Olathe Police Department, our manager of safety services. Liz Hawkins is our co-responder, and then Lori Seidel basically keeps tabs on Brent and Brad all day and helps dispatch them to many locations. So. A program we're very proud of in our district that's really unique to Olathe is our school safety specialist program. And 2 years ago, we made the decision to end a contract with a third-party contract security and at actually a little bit of a cost savings, trade out 2 for 1, but really know that the one that we're getting to help serve our high schools from a safety standpoint are really qualified people. So. All 6 of these gentlemen are retired Olathe Police Department officers. All of them have more than 25 years experience, and they've just been a huge asset to our high schools. And actually, Andy Falcon's here tonight. I want to give him a shout out. Does a great job. Our SRO program is one of the best partnerships I think we have in our school district with the city of Olathe. We are fully staffed in having a SRO at every high school and every middle school. And so I want to give a shout out to our SROs. And just the job they do, because it's more than just a policeman in the building. You know, they really work on the mentorship side, getting to know students. They wear many hats, everything from a police officer to a counselor to a role model to someone to just talk to. So they do a really good job. And then our middle level unit with 10 middle schools is a pretty large group. We've got a couple new folks and a couple folks that have been around quite some time. So really fortunate to have this group. Liz Hawkins is our co-responder. It's a position we started in 2023 with the state MHIT grant. Liz is a trained social worker. She worked for us at Olathe West until we hired her into this position. But she really is someone who works with so many of our students and frankly some of our staff that are really going through a mental health challenge. And just this last school year, she had over 300 contacts with our families, including 20 Johnson County mental health intakes. And she is such a liaison and has relationships with not only Johnson County Mental Health, but so many of the other outside agencies we work with, from Marillac to others, and is able to help maybe expedite that intake process when necessary, and really helps our families a lot. So. At this point in time, I'll turn it over to Brent to really dive into the safety services programming.
Perfect. Thank you, Dr. McMullen. Thank you, board, for having me and listening to me tonight. I'll try and be as brief as I can here. Up in front of you, we have what we call our multi-layer approach to safety. There really is no one item that really makes our safety protocol work. It's really a collaboration of a lot of things, and I could be up here all night and talk about it, and I'm sure nobody would want that. So we won't do that, but I'll touch on a few things that are really key to our safety platform here in Olathe. First is Crisis Alert by Centegix. So this is a product that we're entering our 4th year now. with great results. We constantly get great feedback from our staff. So as a quick reminder, this is the product that we have beacons and strobes in every classroom, every common area, and all of our staff wear a badge either around their neck or on their waist or something. And really, it's an opportunity for all of our staff to be able to press a button and get help right away. So again, a quick 3-button press notifies the safety team that there's a crisis in the building, but it also gives our staff the ability to, in the event that we need to put a building in lockdown, they can continually press that button and then mass notify everyone in that site that we have a critical incident and we need to be in lockdown. So it's a great tool. As you can see, it is used by our staff quite a bit. So this past school year, we had 3,800 button presses, as we call them. So that's down a little bit from last year. Last year we had about 4,300. It's not, I don't believe, and I don't think our staff will tell you that we're seeing less behavior. What I think this is really our staff getting comfortable with the product and knowing the appropriate time to use it. You know, it's really not intended to be a classroom management tool. This is really supposed to be for crises. So I think our staff continue to hone in on the best use of that system. So like Dr. McMullen mentioned, part of this bond, we've been able to upgrade this system, which has really been good. So the strobes you see now in this room, there's 2 here. There's one right in front of you, and there's another one in the back. It will now coincide with our new safety protocol that I'll talk about in a second. So it's been a really good addition for us. Our Raptor visitor management, so this is what all of our community goes through when they check into our buildings. So this gives us an idea of how many visitors come in, who they are, what their purpose is in our building, and it prints off a visitor badge for them. But in addition, at the same time, what it does is it checks against all nationwide databases for a sex offender registry. That way, if we have an individual checking into our building that is a registered sex offender, it's a tool for our administrators just to understand how to maybe delicately treat this situation. So it's a great tool that our community is used to, and we get great feedback on as well. Last year we had over 47,000 visitors scanned in across our buildings district-wide. Our night lock device, this is what we call an enhanced barricade device. So back when we had Alice, and I'll talk a little bit about the transition of that here in a moment, but or from that rather, but we've always trained our staff in the unfortunate event that we enter in a lockdown, barricading the door is just one extra step to keep you safer. I was never a huge fan of dragging file cabinets across the room, pushing couches over it. It's not only is it trauma inducing, it's not quick if you have to then evacuate. What this night lock device does is it makes it extremely quick and easy to barricade the door. They're extremely strong. We've tested it with the Olathe Police Department, with rams and other tools to try and get in. They're extremely effective in what they do, yet very easy for our staff to manipulate. And I'll tell you, it's interesting to me, once we rolled this out, K through 12 at all of our sites, the amount of feedback we got from our staff of just how much safer it makes them feel, frankly, it was worth the cost. So it's been a really good option for our enhanced lockdown. And again, we'll talk about our new safety protocol coming up, but this has really been a key piece of really emphasizing to our staff, if we enter in a lockdown, staying in your room behind a locked door truly is the safest place to be, and I'll talk about that here in a moment. Some ballistic film or laminate that we've put on our buildings is another new addition that we've done since the bond. And really what this is, without going into too much detail, really we're fortifying our buildings and making them just a slightly harder target for any bad actors. So in other words, we do a really good job keeping all of our doors locked at all times. However, windows, of course, are a weak point of any exterior. So what this film does is it just fortifies the glass. So if somebody were to try to force their way in to reach in and unlock the door, this fortifies it. So we walked virtually every building in our district. We picked the strategic locations to install that film, and we've done that, started last summer and then finished phase 2 this most recent summer. One of the last things I'd like to highlight tonight is our Lightspeed software, and full disclosure, hats off to Mr. Humphrey and his technology team for running this. This is really their thing. I just get involved from the safety side, but they've done an excellent job rolling this out. From a very high level, what this does is it utilizes artificial intelligence to scan screens, and I'm sorry, Mr. Humphrey, if I messed anything up here. Some technology words here. It's going to scan the screens, there's probably a better word for that, for our students, and basically anytime our students type in anything that could be a concern, so it could be violence towards someone, it oftentimes could be self-harm related. Essentially, that data gets sent to the company Lightspeed. A human reviews it and then takes a look and see if it truly is a concerning threat. If so, that gets forwarded to the right people 24/7 to make sure that we're keeping an eye on our kids. You know, as we know, and Dr. McMullen talked about Liz on there being one of our mental health co-responders, and mental health is huge right now, and there's no getting away from that. And this software has been an excellent tool, and undoubtedly has given us some saves where we've been able to intervene with some students that were just in a really dark place. So it's a great tool. So hats off to Mr. Humphrey and his team for rolling that out. The next thing I'd like to talk about is our transition from the ALICE protocol to the standard response protocol. So we've been in ALICE district for active shooter response for a little bit over 15 years or so, and it was good at the time, and the program still is good. However, we've introduced a lot of technology through crisis alert and night locks to where we really believe that emphasizing lockdown is really the real answer to help keep our students and staff safe if there were an active shooter or an active threat. So the ALICE really emphasized decision-making for our staff and really gave the freedom for our staff to decide what's best for them or what they feel is best for them at the moment that there's an issue. Which can be good, but it's also difficult for a lot of our staff to make a wide array of decisions in a very high stress moment. So what we're trying to do is just make it simpler, especially in a crisis. Simpler is better. So we're really trying to focus our staff on getting behind a locked door, utilizing the night lock and the infrastructure we have to keep themselves safe. So I'll talk a little bit about why we made the switch. The other nice thing about the standard response protocol is it's an all hazards approach. So in other words, ALICE was active shooter only. What the standard response protocol is it covers everything. So there might be a situation where law enforcement are in the neighborhood near the building. We now have a standard protocol for that. There might be a student having a medical issue in the hallway or in the lunchroom or in the commons, and we need to put our building on what's called a hold, where our students will remain in the classroom and keep the hallways clear so first responders can respond. So before, we didn't quite have the standard language for that, but this really standardizes that across our district, K-12. It uses language that's age appropriate for everyone, and we really feel like now is really the right time to move forward with that. So we've been rolling it out across our district. I'll talk about some of the training we've done in a second, but so far we've gotten really good feedback. Additionally, we've got administrators and other folks in our organization that are familiar with it, that have either come from other districts or elsewhere, and they've all had very positive experiences. So I think it's going to be good for us here. I won't go into too much detail of the protocol, but in front of you are the icons that are now the options. So hold, just real brief, is going to be, again, if we have someone in the hallway that's having an issue, we need to keep our hallways clear. So the hold is going to be to notify our students and staff, just stay where you are until further notice. Secure is going to be, we're going to secure our buildings even more than normal, so we're going to keep anybody that would normally be outside, we're going to bring them in. So if in the secondary level, if we have PE or band or sports outside, we're going to bring them inside. At the elementary level, if there's recess, we're going to bring them inside as well. Of course, lockdown, we could utilize our Centegix button to do that. That's reserved for our most severe incidents. Evacuate, if there's ever a gas leak or some need to get out of the building, there certainly is that option. And then shelters largely here is going to be for severe weather. The way we rolled this out to staff is we started really at our administrator retreat a couple weeks ago at Olathe Northwest. So we started our training there. We've created modules through our technology department and made it part of our mandatory training for all of our staff. So all of our staff will have completed the training by, I believe it's August the 12th, which will be next week before students arrive. And then also I'm working with our communications division on a video that we'll also send out to staff, just further explaining the why. So that they really understand that this was a very thoughtful approach done with a lot of research and due diligence. And then, of course, we'll continue to support all of our buildings on drill ideas and that sort of thing moving forward. So again, couple of things that I already mentioned. The training that the foundation, it's called the I Love You Guys Foundation. They offer DIY training, or we can go to paid training if we need to. The language that they use is trauma informed. It's reinforced with simple drills. It's also reviewed by industry experts every 2 years, and they make necessary changes just as environment and things change. Additionally, this is a widely accepted protocol. It's used by over 50,000 organizations nationwide. So there are school districts in our metro that use it, both big and small, also nationwide, that are using it with some good success. So we just felt like right now was a good time with the upgrade from Centegix, with what we have implemented. The new strobes that we have in the ceilings everywhere will coordinate with the colors. So purple is hold. So if we go into hold, all the Centegix strobes will now light up purple. So it really fits just kind of blending all of our safety platforms together. So we're really excited about it. With that, we'll certainly entertain any questions.
I wonder if you might real quickly just talk about with the new badges and the sticker that's going to be on the new badges. It's cool that it all fits in one spot like that.
Absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned that. So again, all of our staff carry the crisis alert badges, and through our print department, we were able to print off stickers that go on the back of the badges. That way, if we have maybe a new educator or maybe someone that hasn't been through this before and they see it light up purple, again, the computer screens are going to take over. They're going to hear an announcement. But if they miss that or they need a reminder, we've printed off enough to go to every building to put on the back of all their badges, and has all 5 of the responses clearly spelled out on the back of their badge. So just a fresh reminder, so it's in front of our staff when they need it in an emergency if they forget. I'm glad you mentioned that. Thank you, Dr. Yeager.
Ms. Reagan.
I think this transition is great. I have more of a comment than a question. I think it's really responsive to just, a lot of the community and national chatter about age-appropriate drills and the way that we address these types of issues in our classrooms, especially the younger the kids are. I love the colors. I think when I was in the classroom, I didn't want to have to be the decision maker when we were in moments of crisis or panic. And I appreciate taking that weight off of the educators and having a system in place where they're just thinking about their kids and they're not thinking about a plan. Like, that is wonderful. And I appreciate that we're evolving our response to these types of things and beyond just active shooter, because I think it makes kids safer beyond the walls of our school, making them aware of, medical things they may see out in the world. Like if there's happening, oh, you should back up. You should, I appreciate the diligence and the intention behind this. And I think the sticker is really a good idea, because when you're in that moment of real panic or the light's on, what does it mean? It's good that you can discreetly just look at your badge and realize that, we need to stay put, but everything's okay. So I appreciate you guys and the work going into this. And we're always going to be changing and evolving as kind of our situation and circumstances shift, but I appreciate that we are willing to change and evolve in the name of safety for our students and for our staff. Thank you.
Thank you for saying that. Appreciate it.
Anyone else? Ms. Steele.
I just wanted to say briefly, in the almost 4 years that I've been on the board, I am so amazed at the changes that have taken place and the advancement that you guys have looked into. That doesn't happen without great leadership and a lot of hard work behind the scenes. So thank you for that. Most of what you talked about tonight wasn't happening when I came on the board, and now it's just happening on the regular. I think that's great. The one thing I heard you say that I think is so important is that our staff feels safer and more in control with some of the changes you've made, and that's empowering. So thank you for the hard work and appreciate all you do.
Awesome. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, and I'd be remiss for not acknowledging this board and our superintendent for putting safety first. I have the opportunity to speak with safety directors all over the country, and I can assure you that that's not the response that every district gets. So it sure is nice to be supported by a board and a superintendent that really puts safety first. So thank you for that.
I have just a couple of questions about the presentation. And one, you referenced when you talked about the total number of button presses and behavior being over 3,000 button presses. What kinds of behaviors are those in response to?
A wide array of things. It could be from in our special education classrooms. Oftentimes it can be elopements. What's nice about the tool is if a student does elope from the classroom, a teacher can press the button and then it will continue sending that signal for up to 60 seconds. So as a safety responder or a principal of a building, you're able to see, okay, if it's lighting up in room 105 and now it's 107 and now it's door D, you have a pretty good idea of what you're walking into. So it's a wide array of things. I've talked to one specific principal that gave me an example of there's a student that just started to become escalating, and they kind of know this is kind of typical, and it starts a certain way and then it escalates. Well, the teacher was able to discreetly press her button as opposed to walking over and grabbing a radio or getting on the phone and calling for help, which would often escalate the student. So in order to press the button discreetly, next thing you know, the student has 3 or 4 other people around, realizes, hey, there's people here. It completely de-escalated the situation, which would normally have been a more intense situation. So I would say, short answer, there's a wide array of different behaviors. It is used more heavily at the elementary level, substantially. So, we've got little ones from pre-K up to 5th grade that struggle with a wide array of issues. But yeah, so it's heavily used at the elementary level for, a wide array of things.
Thanks. And then you talked about the staff training, the rollout and the video, and what kinds of communication are going to parents to educate about this change?
I've worked with Ms. Grubaugh on that as well, and the I Love You Guys Foundation already has a lot of pre-printed information for parent notification. So we're working together for newsletters to prepare those for not only our district newsletter, obviously our staff newsletter, but what goes out to parents as well. And then it's also already written up for our buildings to put it out in their building newsletters as well to go home to parents as well.
Okay. I would just ditto the appreciation to you and Dr. McMullen and your staff, SROs, the difference that it makes in a building having an SRO to build those relationships and work with kids. So, and then those who retired and came back to us, that's a plus for sure. So thank you, and for your vision and your leadership. Really appreciate that. Thank you. Dr. Sig, some strategic planning.
So as Ron works on some of the technology, I am honored to be joined this evening by Corey Shear with Trust-Centric Consulting, as well as Justin Rickliffs with Guild Collective. And they are partnering with us in our strategic planning this year. But before I kind of toss the baton to the two of them to look forward for us, I wanted to take just a quick minute to kind of refer back to what brought us here today in looking at revising our strategic plan. As we look back, the strategic plan that we're currently working in was first developed in the 2018-2019 school year. And during that school year, there was a great deal of work done to ensure that we had a vast array of voices heard in the process of developing our strategic plan. And so in that process, there were really 4 phases that were worked through, and it was quite the heavy lift, and resulted in October of 2019, the Board of Education approving the strategic plan, which would begin in 2019 and take us through 2024. I'll put an asterisk next to that, though, because as I just mentioned, October of 2019, we had a portrait of graduate, which was really our kind of guiding light for our strategic plan and the strategic plan that were approved, but there were then still 2 phases that were going to be undergone in the coming year to continue to focus on the strategic outcomes of the strategic plan and identify the metrics that would be used. So great intentions, but the strategic plan did not predict what would happen in the spring of 2020. And so the spring of 2020 occurred, and we had many other things that we were navigating. So in the fall of 2021, you may remember Dr. Reeves coming before all of you and sharing an update and a relaunching of our strategic plan. And that was really to ensure that we got back to that focus. And in that, we also were able to make certain that we had some adjustments that really were bringing us up to the areas that we needed to continue to provide that future focus for. So at that time, we had additional focus around diversity, engagement, and inclusion, and an advisory committee was developed, and then we really then identified the metrics to be used in measuring our progress on our strategic plan. We had 4 pillars and continue to have those 4 pillars today, which are really the big visions for our strategic plan, and those focused on the high expectations for all, and then behavioral and social emotional development. The 3rd one was human resources, and then our 4th one was really looking at our effective systems and prioritized resources. So we have continued to keep updates with our balanced scorecard on our website, and I know many people go and kind of check that out. And as you go and do that, I think that will highlight not only the great work that's been done in our current strategic plan, but really has provided us some great information in terms of looking forward and some of the considerations we'd like to make as we look at revising our strategic plan. As you look through that data, and there's a great deal of it there, you'll notice that there's various points in that data where we note that the metric changed, or the assessment no longer exists, or it went from something that was given to all students to something that was an opt-in. And so that was and continues to be one of the challenges that we face with our current strategic plan. And so as Dr. Yeager and our senior leadership team began the conversation of looking at our revision to our strategic plan, which would be taking place for the 26-27 school year, we really felt it important that we be able to continue to have that great vision and forward thinking as a district, but at the same time ensure that we really were able to measure progress and growth towards those goals, while at the same time having some fluidity and flexibility and being able to adjust that plan. That's where our partners came in with Corey and Justin to really help us in this work, because we know how important it is. And knowing that Corey has done a great deal of work with many organizations and really looking at those visionary pieces that the organization wants to focus on, but making sure that those are really embedded throughout all of the work of the organization and the school district, and pairing that with the work that Justin and his team do in really telling kind of the human story. We felt like it was an incredible pairing and great partners for us to rely on in our work as we look forward in our strategic planning this year. So I'm going to hand it over to Corey, who you can see is joining us via Zoom. Welcome, Corey, and Justin Rickliffs, and they are going to provide for you insight as to our plan that we're going to be taking on this year and looking at updating and revising our strategic plan. So Corey, I believe I'm handing it off to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sig. And thank you all for your understanding for me to be able to join via Zoom this evening. I am out in Colorado actually for a family commitment. I have the privilege of being able to attend a memorial golf tournament for my father, who was a superintendent of schools in Thompson Valley, which is just north of Denver. And that start time is tomorrow morning at 6:30 a.m. And so getting from Kansas City to Colorado overnight would have been a pretty difficult challenge. So I'm grateful for technology with Zoom, also grateful for Justin to be able to be there in person, and excited to be able to share with you over the course of the next few minutes just an overview of our process as we begin our strategic planning process with Olathe Public Schools. So my name is Corey Shear. I live in the Northland. I live in the Liberty Public School District. As Dr. Sig has shared with you, I work with lots of other school districts, also other nonprofit organizations, other businesses, not only in the Kansas City region, but across the country. And we are members of the Liberty Public School District. We have 4 children, and grateful to have been in the Northland for the past 17 years with them. And then, Justin, I want to give you an opportunity to provide an introduction, and then we'll dig into a handful of slides.
Sure, you bet. Thank you. My name is Justin Rickliffs. I'm the founder and CEO of a marketing agency called Guild Collective. We're also based in Liberty. My wife and I have 5 children, also through the Liberty Public School District. And Dr. Yeager, Dr. Sig, the executive leadership team, and certainly the board, we're grateful to stand in front of you and walk through the process and the methodology that we get to shape and steward your story. This is your story to tell, and we're honored to be a part of it.
Thank you, Justin. So this is a very unique partnership between Guild Collective and Trust Centric. To our knowledge, we know of no other school district that is combining both a deliberate strategic planning process with a brand expert company like Guild Collective. And there's a very specific reason why we're doing that, which we're going to get into in a little bit more detail. But to be able to couple both the strategic planning process as well as the proper messaging, and Guild specializes in a very human-centered messaging approach, which is absolutely appropriate, of course, for a school district. So we're excited to be able to partner in this together and then ultimately provide the very best possible service to guide you all through this process over the coming months. So let's dive into some slides. We're going to share a little bit about just the purpose of the work, and then we'll also walk through some of the phases that you all can expect. So ultimately what we want to do together is we want to build a clear and practical trust-driven strategy roadmap that reflects where we are, where Olathe Public Schools is, and also connects through authentic messaging and drives forward with purpose. So the ultimate goal here is that we want to align, as the slide says, people, priorities, and then ultimately progress moving forward. And then also, as Dr. Sig said earlier, we want to make sure that we're pulling through and pulling forward all of the incredible work that has been done in the previous strategic plan, and to just continue to amplify that great work and to clarify that in terms of the context of the plan moving forward over the next several years. We have 3 primary objectives. Number 1 is to establish a simple and sophisticated strategic plan that is appropriately editable. We want this to be a living document, something that can be easily adjusted at formal times throughout the next several years to ensure that the strategic objectives are aligning with the resources and the current context of the district. Then this is where Justin's team is going to really provide their expertise in terms of building compelling messaging that is clear, that is built for connection and comprehension instead of any potential confusion that can certainly arise when we're trying to communicate the goals and the objectives of a strategic plan. And then finally is to pave a clear path for future initiatives. So there will be strategic recommendations to activate this work through various methods and through various channels. And so this is where we will be working closely with district leadership in order to provide them the very best possible solutions. Some expected outcomes of the planning process. I'm not going to read every word. I'll just read kind of quickly through the expected outcomes on the left-hand side, but a practical, actionable, and measurable strategic plan, and the measuring of that strategic plan that can be done in a way that is as efficient as possible while still maintaining the appropriate level of data and being able to be thorough with that data so that we can then translate what is occurring into clear data that is both reflective and also actionable. Number 2, of course, a unified district and community. So you'll see in this process that we're going to be utilizing opportunities to engage with various stakeholders around the district, around the community, in order to get feedback on the strategic plan. Also with Guild Collective, their expertise in helping to provide some core messaging framework. So it's not just having a strategic plan, but being able to communicate that in a way that will really connect with the entire district and the community so that we're really articulating clearly the vision of the district moving forward with this plan. Activation recommendations, so I spoke about that a little bit earlier, but as these strategic objectives begin to emerge and as they start to fill out these components of the vision and the vision priorities moving forward with the plan, ensuring that there are tactical recommendations that will ultimately support these initiatives. And then finally, the opportunity to equip the district with a monitoring and accountability method, and then of course us providing some support along the way, and even after the strategic plan is completed, us being able to provide that support as well. A very, very quick couple of slides on who we are. I've already shared with you a little bit about my information as the founder and CEO of TrustCentric. Here are some of the organizations that I've had the privilege of working with over the past several years, and it's an amazing opportunity to walk alongside and help guide with various tools and resources, not only from a workplace culture and an organizational trust standpoint, but also from a strategic planning point as well. And so very grateful to have served and continue to serve several of these organizations currently. And then Justin, want to hand it over to you so that you can share a little bit about the Guild Collective team.
Yeah, you bet. So our team is that's literally the whole company. It's all nine of us. We're based here in Kansas City. All of our folks are based in Kansas City, and we're a local agency. One thing that I could just feel as I walked in the building today is the energy of the community. Like, this is a gathering spot. This is a moment that matters for obviously this meeting, but for this community. And that's the type of work our team thrives on, is understanding the heart of an issue and the heart of a matter. And when it came up in conversations with this team already of, no, we have the Olathe advantage. And it's like, that was it. Like, we experienced it. And so the work, and the four of us on this slide, Adriana, Dawn, myself, and Rachel, I literally have the same jacket on. That's moderately embarrassing. But the work will be to crystallize and have concise and compelling language that gets reflected back to the appropriate stakeholders, the board, the community, the leadership team, the students, the parents. And ultimately, that's one solid object, and it gets reflected back like a prism based on the target audience that's engaging with the work. And so, again, it's your story, and these four of us will be the primary folks alongside Corey in this work. This is just a really small sliver of a project we did with Liberty Public Schools, and they are such a wonderful organization. Dr. Tucker and his team do such a great job. They don't have the Olathe advantage, but they are doing a great job. And this work is an example. It's definitely not going to be exactly how this plays out with you all, of course. The problem that they came to us with was, hey, we have some non-accredited staff positions that are hard to fill, and we're struggling to get the right resumes and the right response rate, and we're trying to, like everybody, now hiring, right? And we're looking for great people, and we want them to start tomorrow, and we have bus drivers, and we have food service folks, and we have hospitality folks, all these different roles. And with lots of love and respect, the current strategy wasn't working that great. We had little, yard signs at school bus stops and at pickup lines and near the Chick-fil-A that said, now hiring bus drivers for whatever, $14.50 per hour. And through the process that we'll walk alongside Corey and his team, and obviously in service of you all, we ended up coming up with this very simple phrase for them, which was, it's totally worth it. And so for someone who's retired and looking for another part-time income to drive a bus at 5:30 in the morning, it has to be worth it. And it wasn't just because, of course, you got to get paid and you got to have benefits and all that stuff, but it was because they wanted to put the student at the center of the story and get them there safely to and from. And so this work not only was helpful and clear and compelling from a messaging and a creative standpoint, it worked. And so they dropped that 60 plus open rate down to about 5. And one of our contacts at the Liberty Public Schools, she's like, I can actually have Christmas break or holiday break this year because I don't have to be hustling through Indeed looking for resumes. So anyway, this is just a little bit of a visual, again, much different project, but in terms of context, thought it might be helpful to show the board some examples.
That's great, Justin. Thank you. This is just a very quick overview of what the trust-centric pathway looks like. I had the privilege of being able to work with the Olathe Public Schools leadership team 2 summers ago with a professional development opportunity. We had an amazing conversation around workplace culture and organizational trust. I spent a few hours with the team, and that was kind of on the phase 1 side of this work. We're going to be really squarely focused over the next several months on phase 2, which is around developing vision priorities, engaging stakeholders in meaningful ways, and then ultimately creating strategic objectives that are actionable and measurable. But this just gives you just a very quick overview of the work that we do as a company. So here's just a quick project overview. There's 4 primary phases. One is around the process initiation, which we are currently in that phase right now, as well as team alignment. Phase 2 is around our focus groups and our stakeholder discovery sessions, where we are gathering insight to help inform really what goes into phase 3, which is all around our strategy development and our goal setting. And then finally, of course, we want to implement and then help monitor, and then ultimately be able to walk away knowing that you all feel supported and equipped with this great plan moving forward, thanks to the co-creation efforts of many, many people over the previous several months. This is a visual. If you were to take the entire process and kind of boil it down onto one page, what we're showing here is, and Dr. Sig alluded to, there are 4 pillars that were used for the last strategic plan. The pillar language may be converted, or will probably be converted into these vision priority categories. These vision priorities, there may be 4, there may be 5. That's part of the discovery process. Each vision priority will have a very aspirational, visionary statement that is connected to it. And then what we will do is we will develop strategic objectives, most likely 5 to 7, perhaps a couple of more, depending on the vision priority. And then if you can imagine clicking into each of those strategic objective buttons, it would open up an entire action plan. And those action plans contain milestones, who's going to help own the process, who is going to be in charge of ensuring that we have the adequate resources, what are the resources necessary, what are the key milestones along the way. So it's a much more detailed view than what you obviously see right here. But this just gives you kind of a high-level overview, and it does even kind of look like the pillars. So it's a similar concept, and knowing that the main components of those pillars will, of course, help significantly inform each of the vision priority categories that we ultimately determine. So phase 1, some just specific detail, not going to go through this line by line, but this is where we've already engaged with the senior leadership team. Tonight, we're obviously working with you all, with the board and community. We will then move into the development, working with the senior leadership team on developing a long-range planning committee that will be comprised of board, staff, students. Dr. Sig and Justin and I have already engaged in some very initial conversations around the timeline and what the timing will look like over the course of the next 2 months. And then we will walk through that the phased process, like we're talking about tonight, with that long-range planning committee, and get them up to speed and equipped for the coming months. Justin and I will then develop a overview video, and that overview video will be not 20 or 25 minutes. It will be just a few minutes, and it will be an opportunity for you all to share this process with key community members, students, teachers, staff, whomever you would like, so that you will have a video asset to be able to share so that we can communicate that more broadly. Phase 2, this is where there's a lot of work, a lot of engagement with various members of the district, of course, students, staff, teachers, district administrative employees, of course, volunteers, board members, community members, parents. This is going to be an opportunity for lots of great feedback to be developed over the course of these focus groups. So we will facilitate 15 total in-person sessions, and our current goal will be to have 3 focus group sessions for each one of our vision priorities. So assuming that if we have 5 vision priority categories and then 3 focus groups for each of those vision priority categories, that gets us into that 15 in-person session range. This will be taking place during the spring of 2026, And this will be an opportunity where we'll gather, we'll pull various groups together, and we'll give them an opportunity to answer some specific questions around these vision priority categories so that we can start to develop some initial strategic objectives. We'll aggregate the data, we'll summarize the data from the listening sessions, and then we'll, of course, present that data to the long-range planning team. At that point, we move into really the specific strategic development, or what we would call our strategic objectives. And then from those strategic objectives, of course, goals can be developed. We will facilitate those objectives and we'll finalize those ultimately with the senior leadership team. We utilize a formula that is called an X to Y by when, which means we define our current reality. We then define what the why is, what is the goal that we want to ultimately achieve. And then what we want to do is then establish what year do we want that specific strategic objective to be accomplished by within the next 5 years. And so that's going to be very important because not all of those 25 to 30 strategic objectives can be accomplished obviously in 1 year. So we want to stagger those out, ensure that if there's a strategic objective that is dependent upon another one that is going before it, that we're articulating that clearly within the overall plan. And so, Justin, I want to hand it over to you in that third bullet point in terms of the visualization process and why it's so critical to be able to integrate the true voice of Olathe Public Schools and aligning that with the strategic development of this plan.
Yeah, thanks, Corey. I think in its most simple form, as part of this work, we'll get really clear on who those target audiences are. And so that when we are engaging them in that context, we're presenting the plan in a way that makes sense, is not overwhelming, is clear, and we're ultimately all really emotional beings. And if we can't connect to that emotion, logic never has room to take root. And so we want to give the emotional resonance first and then open up the plan for much more detail. In a silly way, the way to the heart is a story. It's not a sheet of facts. And so for us, we want to condense and consolidate and make this a really concise piece. Board packet will be different, right, than someone moving into Olathe and looking at houses would see on the website. And so as part of this work, we'll get really clear on those target audiences and then position and shape the message. It's the same story. It's all the same thing, but it gets communicated differently to different audiences at the right time in the right context.
Right. Thank you, Justin. And then once we develop the vision priorities and also we have the focus groups, we pull together the data, we create the strategic objectives, Justin and his team help articulate and really amplify that message so it's consumable in a very meaningful and authentic way. Then it's at that point that we will ultimately provide any potential messaging or activation recommendations. We would review those recommendations with, of course, the executive leadership team, and if there's any additional service that we can provide, of course, we would help with that. Justin and his team would help with that as well. We also provide a 6-month and 12-month facilitation of the strategic objective audit. So what this means is once the strategic plan launches, which would be for the 26-27 school year and ready for that, it's at that point that we, after the plan is launched, we would come back in, help facilitate any potential changes or audits or edits to the strategic objectives. Never thinking about changing the vision priorities because those are the critical long-range vision priority statements. But it's those more granular, more tactical strategic objectives that we're measuring and taking action on that if there is a need to make any adjustments, it is built within the process to be able to do that so that the plan ultimately becomes a living document as opposed to perhaps a static document that remains a PDF for the life of the strategic planning process. So it's very, very important that we build in, and this is where with other organizations that we've worked with, they have just been freed up to be able to make any of those necessary changes 6 months, 12 months, a couple of years down the road to make the planning document as living and as active as possible so that it is relevant to be able to connect to the resources for that particular year. Here's a proposed timeline. Phase 1 is obviously has started. We'll move through the fall and we will activate phase 2 at the end of this calendar year. Phase 2 will be the discovery and the insights with the focus groups that will go through April of 2026. And then, of course, we will launch kind of phase 3, which will be the development and the goal setting that will really take place from late spring through the summer. There'll be a lot of work with the long-range planning team and the senior leadership team and key stakeholders in that. And then finally, launching, implementing, and monitoring the finalized strategic plan. So with that, that was a lot of information. This particular PDF, of course, will be available to you to where you can consume it a little bit more word by word, but we want to be mindful of time and certainly provide an opportunity for there to be any questions that you all might have. So Dr. Sig, it'd probably be most appropriate for me to hand it back over to you so that you can help facilitate any questions or additional comments if there are
Sure.
any.
Thank you, Corey. Thank you, Justin. So, as Corey shared, that was a lot of information. We are really excited about this, though, and know the critical importance of our strategic plan and really guiding all of our work, and have really already seen the great things that we know Corey and Justin and their teams are going to bring to the process. But at this time, we'd be happy to entertain any questions.
Board, any questions? Ms. John?
I don't have any questions, but I'm just really excited about it. I don't know how many people get excited about strategic plans, but I you two do. And I remember hearing kind of the brief presentation that we had as a board a couple months ago, maybe, and really got, excited, obviously, about what you guys could do and bring to the table and make this a palatable and really neat experience. And to be a part of it is going to be really neat. I'm excited. Thank you. Good. Excited like 3 times.
Anyone else? Ms. Steele?
So just a couple comments and then a question actually for Dr. Yeager. But one comment, public education right now is very complicated and muddy. And so the idea, I read, Corey, on one of your first slides, something about not overcomplicating the mission. So I think therein lies the crux. I'm really excited about that. I think that's true. I think you can be in a messy space, but still have a very clear mission about what you're there to do. So thank you for that. And then I think, Justin, you said words like make sense, not overwhelming, really clear. That really speaks to me in a time when we don't know what's around the corner in public education, and we're going to really need to lean into that. As far as the measurables, that's where it matters, right? But your example of Liberty Public Schools with the goal they had and the measurables you could deliver from the work that you did with them, that I think is something that will really that spoke to me, and I think that's something that we're looking for in our next strategic plan. So Dr. Yeager, my question for you is, what excited you about this particular group and what you see going forward?
Well, as Corey mentioned in his introduction, he worked with our administrators about 2 years ago and got to know our senior team fairly well. And I remember asking him a couple years ago if he had ever done any work with strategic plan. What I like about Corey, and hopefully this is okay, Corey, is he approaches things a little bit differently. I think we could have found a traditional group to help us facilitate our strategic plan that would have probably produced something similar to what we currently have. And nothing against our current strategic plan. The challenge with it, though, is it doesn't build in the opportunity for us to be nimble. As we've talked about it, and we have thought about it as leadership team, and we've talked with Corey and Justin about this, and you just alluded to this, Mrs. Steele. There's uncertainty in things that happen. So, 2 examples I would give you is shortly after our last strategic plan was developed, the State Board of Education mandated literacy and dyslexia training on all the school systems in the state of Kansas. Well, that was nowhere on our strategic plan, but it took a massive amount of work and a system gearing up very quickly to meet what we had to do. It wasn't an optional thing. And so I think having a plan like this gives us an opportunity to say, okay, yes, obviously we'll do it, but where does it fit? How do we have a process for putting that in place? But also not losing track of the other things that we've articulated as important. I think that's really important. And, the other thing, this is an example example that obviously we've talked about a lot, but we had our district dialogues last year, and we had some specific things that came out of our district dialogues. One of the things that we're talking about obviously is the creation of a K-8 alternative school program to try to help meet the needs of some of the things we heard in those district dialogues. Again, that was nowhere on our strategic plan, but with a process and having checks, if you will, every 6 months and the ability to adjust things, to move things around, to reprioritize things, I think gives us an opportunity to figure out, okay, how does this fit? Where does it go? The other thing that I like, and we talk about this a lot in education, probably other industries as well, is this whole idea of mission creep. There's always somebody that wants us to do something. There's always a new great idea. But I also think having a strategic plan where if something comes to us and, as a board and as senior leadership, as our teachers and our staff across the district look at it, if we can't fit that on our strategic plan somewhere in a way that makes sense, it's probably not appropriate for our organization. And so I think just the approach to it is very different, and that's what excites me about it. I mentioned this to Corey and Justin when they visited with our group, the senior team this week. I think that was just this week. I would even like us to consider it calling something besides a strategic plan, because I really hope that it becomes, and I think there's a great opportunity here, that it really does become our guide for the work that we do as a school system that all of us are squarely focused on. And part of that is what Corey and Justin have shared with, just the check-in points, that there's ongoing check-in points, not the, we did it, we're good for 5 years, and let's keep going. I hope if this is successful, like I believe it will be, that 5 years from now, we'll be like, actually, we don't really need to do anything because our strategic plan has just kept adjusting with us based on the needs of our students and our community. And, maybe we need to check in to say our vision statement's still good, but that's really my hope. And the other part that does that I think is powerful is it also really aligns with the school improvement process that we're using for our schools right now, because our school improvement process are no longer write a school improvement plan in the summer, come back and check in again in the year or 3 years later. It is also a cyclical nature. And so I think us having the ability to connect all of that together like that, I think is really powerful. So I'm pretty excited about it. Yeah. Thank you for the question.
Board, any other questions or comments? I'll make just a couple too. I thank the two of you for being here this evening. Your enthusiasm is exciting because I've been through several strategic plans in several school districts, and it's not always exciting. But a couple of things that I just circled as you talked through your presentation tonight, and I think Julie mentioned this too, is on one of the first slides, a simple, sophisticated strategic plan. And I appreciate the simplicity because I think we as educators can make things complicated trying to get it all. And then the sophisticated strategic plan, because as you've seen probably already, and if you live in Liberty, you're not that far from us, Olathe Public Schools are leaders in education in the region, and our community has high expectations for us. So to maintain that leadership and to meet the needs that are coming in our future, I think those two pieces are critical for whatever we do next. And then as I think again Ms. Steele mentioned, the plan being editable so that we are responsive to the changes that we know will come in the work that we need to do. And then the last thing I'll mention, although I do agree with Dr. Yeager, if we could come up with some other title or name for this to help some of the educators who have been through strategic plans, so to add some excitement, but then the leadership in the marketing as well, and the communication to our stakeholders as we go through the process. And I guess I'll say one more thing, and that is your timeline, so we know there will be an end to it, because that happens sometimes in education as well. It just seems to go on and on. So thank you for being here this evening, and I too am excited to start the process. So
Thank you all so much. Thank you for your willingness to step into this process and the enthusiasm that you're feeling from both Justin and me. It is very real. It's very authentic because we're so excited to be able to provide some support for an incredible district, and now to be able to breathe life into a different kind of way of thinking about the planning process is something that we're honored to be able to do. So thank you all so much.
Yeah, and I echo your comments, Corey. Thank you all for having us and for trusting us with this work. It doesn't work when the brand is in incongruence with the core customer. And you could sense it and see it at the beginning of this meeting with the pictures and the cheering squad and the moms and dads and the kids that put on real clothes and dressed up. I've got a senior in high school, so I can say that. And it's truth. Their future is our future. So this works because there's a strong leadership nucleus in this district, and it's very obvious. And it will be fun to rename the strategic plan something like the Olathe Advantage Plan. Thank you all for having us.
thank you. And thanks, Dr. Sieg. Mr. Hutchison, talk money.
Boy, talking about a 180, right?
Yeah. Well, I did.
John, this will be fun too. There's a lot of energy.
I didn't want to say that.
Well, Ron sets this up. If you just indulge me for a minute, I'd like to tell you a personal story of kind of how how small the world is and kind of the circle of life. 2 years ago, I met Corey after he had presented about trust to to the administrative staff, and I did the St. Louis thing. I go, hey, are you related to Mike Shear? I went to high school with him. He goes, no, and I named the high school, as we do. And he said, no, I actually grew up in Rockwood. I go, Rockwood? Well, Rockwood is where I started 35 years ago as a very young CPA. They stole me away to be the business manager, and there was an assistant superintendent there who took me under his wing and taught me kind of how to navigate principals and administrations, and that was his dad, Stan Shear. So it was very, very touching to kind of catch up, and unfortunately Stan passed during COVID, so I didn't get to see him anymore and let him know I finally met Corey. So. Thank you for the opportunity this evening to kind of go at a very high level, the review of our FY26 budget and the resulting levies that we'll be proposing. The detailed budget is down in your agenda item 8.02. No need to try and scan 100 plus pages tonight. You have all month to review those, ask any questions. I'm open at any time to meet. It'll be brought back to you on September 4th for adoption. However, later in the agenda, you will be asked to take action on two authorizations. The first is a notice of hearing that we'll have to advertise and post in the Kansas Star, and also the notice of hearing to exceed our revenue neutral rate. And as I said, that'll be later in the agenda. I'd like to review just kind of the key assumptions that go into this year's budget. As you know, we are starting to enter a new phase in our district of declining enrollment. And we anticipate a reduction in our full-time equivalent. That's not a head count, but what we're funded on is full-time equivalents of about 184 students, which would bring our funding FTE to about 27,248. Now, we hedged that a bit. We build in 5% for growth, perhaps our open enrollment. We get a spike from that. And we never know what type of student we'll get, so we put 5% additionally for each one of our weightings. The budget's built around, our assessed valuation went up 5.9% over last year. And base aid per pupil or sorry, showing my age in Kansas, base aid for student excellence is actually up $237, which is great. It's going to be at $5,615 this year. Unfortunately, special education reimbursement is declining. This year, there's always an estimate at the beginning of the year, but we ended at $30,815 in reimbursement per teacher. It's estimated at $29,600 for next year. Across the state, special education costs go up. However, the funding is not going up. Therefore, the reimbursement is declining. The good news is, over the years, that base has been going up. We're in an inflationary time where consumer price index, which is what base is tied to, has been increasing. Therefore, funding comes our way. Unfortunately, expenditures go up at the same time because we're in an inflationary period. Some other things we considered in this budget is, once again, as we do every year, we've attempted to maximize our LOB and capital outlay authorities. That's where we do have some flexibility. Bond and interest levy, we've been keeping that at that 2022 level, so that we had said it was a no tax rate increase, and you'll see that same amount proposed. We don't really have any additional ability at this time to move any salaries or other costs over to capital outlay. Finally, our BOTA authority is starting to diminish, and I'll show you that in just a moment. And unfortunately, we've lost bond and interest and capital outlay state aid for the coming year. For bond and interest, that's about $3 million. And for capital outlay, that's about $1.5 million. The reason we no longer qualify is because our average home price against the median in the state, we're now above that. And therefore, we're not entitled to that component of state aid.
John, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I think I do actually. So when you talk about the state aid on bond and interest and capital outlay, obviously we do a lot of budget planning and we'll set our budgets, but the reality is our budget, at least in terms of payroll and all things, is pretty solid going into next year. When did we find out that we would no longer be getting state aid on those two things?
You really don't find out until we begin the budget process when the state opens up their budget worksheets. There's a lot of calculators in there, and we found that we did not meet that criteria. So
You can have an extra zero or something.
And that would have been over the summer, correct?
That's correct. I'm sorry. It would have been May, June timeframe. Always a surprise. Just kind of zeroing in on that BOTA that I've always talked about. As I said, it's almost out of our system. Next year, we'll receive almost $2 million of BOTA. As you can do the math, it's a decrease of about $4 million, but at least that becomes a little more manageable to get out of our system. It's not these big chunks that we've been seeing over the last 5 years. Our legal maximum budget, as I've said before, Kansas is very unique. We cannot go out and raise more operating funds. There's a formula in our state that drives it to each one. Money goes to the state, comes back through a formula, and that's all you can get. You have some flexibility in capital outlay and some specialty levies that we'll talk about in just a moment. But ours was at $328.7 million for last year. This year, it's calculating at 331.4. So new funds through that formula are about $2.7 million. The asterisk is really for just to draw your attention. If you try to tie out our numbers in those 150 pages, you won't be able to, because we add those buffers I was talking about, that 5%. So you inflate the revenue and you inflate an expenditure line. So it has no impact on a levy, but you have the authority if something new came, some additional special ed funding, a federal grant. So that is buried throughout our budget. So I always try to draw a little bit of attention to that.
So again, I think I read something somewhere in the last couple of days that our budget was going to increase by $12 million this coming school year. The actual number is short of $3 million, and if you put the buffer in, that's where the $12 million comes in. We're not getting $12 million more dollars.
No, we're not getting $12 million. I'd like to find out where that came from, so maybe I could ask for that, but we're not. As a result, this is the proposed levies. The general levy is always 20 mils. It's statutorily set. We have a slight increase in the local option budget, and that's really because it's driven by that increase in the base funding. Capital outlay is at the 8 mils. I already mentioned BOTA is in decline, therefore the levy is decreasing down to 0.222. Special liability is up just slightly, also because valuations are up. And it's really more need-based, as I'll mention in just a second. So we're making sure we have enough in that particular fund. Cost of living, you're maxed on that levy, but because valuations went up, it's rolling back slightly to raise the same amount of money. Special assessments are going down. Those are things like the benefit districts of old, where developers and landowners would come together and have to put infrastructure in. We're slowly paying all of those off. And then bond and interest, as I said, is sitting at that 2022 amount. So overall, our levy is going to go down about 1.3 mils. The factors that drive it, as I mentioned, the 20 mils is statutorily set. We have a higher base per pupil, therefore we have more LOB. We've maxed out the capital outlay at 8 mils. We had to lower the BOTA because we've lost 4.1 million in authority. And cost of living is down because we can raise the same dollars with a higher increased assessed valuation, and the rest are all base needed. Whatever the schedule says or the estimate, that's where we set those levies. As you can see, we're proposing the board continue to utilize every bit of authority they have in order to help fund the budget. Everything is set at its max. This is how a tax bill would appear for our patrons. You would see the prior tax rate. Unfortunately, all 8 of the levies roll up, not unfortunately, but they roll up into 3 lines. There are 6 levies buried in the center one of school gen, and it can often be very confusing. The 20 mils across the state can't change. Bond and interest is going down, and the other 6 combined will decrease by about 4%. So overall, the total is going down 2%. In comparison to the revenue neutral rate, which is one of the hearings we'll have, our actuals for 2025 were 63.198 mils. The revenue neutral rate would have us roll back to 59.602. Our actual that we're proposing is 61.910. And I just want to point out some things. We cannot roll back the general fund, even though there's a published revenue neutral rate. It's statutorily set at 20. So that 1.221, we have to do that. Capital outlay, you could have the flexibility to roll that back to the 7.566. We need every dollar of capital outlay we can right now, so we have traditionally kept it at 8 mils. Just pointing out again, we are a little different than our neighbors. We have a lot more residential assessed value, residential property versus commercial. So per pupil, we do not have as strong of an assessed valuation. So when you apply that 8 mils to our assessed valuation versus our neighbors, we don't raise near what they can with the 8 mils. I will point out all other funds is at the revenue neutral rate. You'll see that there is no difference between that. But once again, overall, the levy we're proposing would be down 1.288. Historically, we've been slowly declining in our mill rate. Back in 17-18 was kind of one of our most recent high mark, and we've dropped, as you can see, almost 10 mils since that time. This is kind of step two, or depending on how you want to look at it, in the budget process. Tonight, all we'll be asking is for the ability to publish about those notices, and then on the 23rd is when we would publish. And no, you won't be voting on the budget at all tonight. You wouldn't be doing that until that September 4th meeting. So once again, you remember, you're not approving the budget. You have the whole month to review and ask any questions. You're just approving our publication of them, and we're publishing the maximums. You can always lower any of the levies upon that final approval. So first thing is notifying the county of the revenue neutral rate. They sit just a little higher. We fine tune as we come into the night and might lower some, but then your final ability to lower any levy happens at your September meeting. Questions? Before I stand for any questions, I would like to acknowledge Cassie Osborne and her budget manager, Kristen Slavic, and her staff. As usual, I'm the messenger. They spend hours and hours and hours getting this done, and unfortunately, it's a very narrow window. Those spreadsheets and systems do not open at the state level till all the budget workshops are done across the state. So right around the 4th of July, they race to get this ready for adoption by September. Questions?
John, I wonder real quickly, just with the September deadline, sometimes people have had questions, how are they, negotiating, but they approved the budget, in September for the year that we're already in. Would you just remind us a little bit about the statutory nature of our budget development process, dates, all that kind of stuff?
Certainly. It has, in my career, moved back a bit because of this revenue neutral rate, because the county has to send out notifications, individualized letters from all the taxing jurisdictions indicating if you're going to exceed the revenue neutral rate. So that added 30 days to it. So it is a bit of a little harder projection as we do negotiations or we're planning for the year. You are looking out 90 days and you're already under contracts to know exactly what your budget's going to be. In some ways, you're making the decision to, if you wanted to dramatically roll back a levy, it's pretty hard to do because we've already contractually obligated ourselves. A lot of states, you can't, it happens by July 1, you better have a new budget. We've always been in kind of an August state, which is a little more manageable. Teachers are coming in at about that time, but this extra 30 days is a little tough. Is that what you were asking? Okay.
Board, any questions, comments?
Don't hesitate to call with any questions, or I'd be happy to meet at
I appreciate the thorough explanation. It's really helpful because, we hear a lot of information, but we don't live it every day like you do. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Ms. Reagan.
At each regular meeting, the Board of Education reserves limited time for individuals to address the board. We ask that your comments be germane, that is, related to the business this board effectuates. Noncompliance may result in the president interrupting to redirect. We request that individual speakers limit their comments to 3 minutes. The clerk will monitor the time and notify the speaker when the 3-minute time limit has expired. Please direct your comments to the board, not to the guests or staff. If a response is appropriate, the president will respond or refer to another individual. In an effort to respect privacy, we ask that speakers refrain from discussing personal complaints involving individual staff members or students. Audience disruption is also not permitted. Those speaking are advised that public comments are videotape recorded for broadcast on the district's educational access channel and audio tape recorded as a matter of public record. Individuals addressing the board should come to the podium at the front of the room and state your name, city and state, and relationship to the district.
Thank you, Ms. Reagan. Our first speaker this evening is Rachel Broderick.
Good evening, members of the board. Thank you for this opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Rachel Bradrick, and I live just right over here by Havencroft in Olathe. I have 2 kids who attend Havencroft Elementary School, an incoming kindergartner and a 2nd grader, and then I also have a 2-year-old, so I'm going to be at the district for a little while, happily. I'm also a graduate of Olathe South, so I have been around. I serve as the PTO Vice President for Havencroft Elementary School as well. I am here as someone who believes that every child and school, regardless of their neighborhood, household income, or family background, deserves equitable financial support. There is a stark and undeniable inequity of financial support between our high socioeconomic schools and our Title I schools based on their PTO fundraising ability and their corporate sponsorship support. In our higher income neighborhoods, PTO and corporate sponsorships raise tens of thousands of dollars each year. These funds go towards classroom technology, field trips, enrichment programs, staff support, and appreciation, including classroom supply gift cards and staff meals and playground upgrades. This meaningfully bolsters the student and staff experience beyond the base district funding. By contrast, many Title I schools serving families who may be facing economic challenges rely on significantly smaller contributions. These PTOs do not lack in passion, effort, or commitment. They simply lack the financial means that wealthier PTOs have. These parents care just as deeply, but they're up against real financial and time constraints. As a result, the educational experience students receive and the work environment of the staff can differ dramatically, depending on the wealth of the school's parent community, not their ability, not their effort, but their neighborhood. This extends even further when considering a significant number of students have limited ability to participate in education opportunities due to hunger and food insecurity. PTO funding at title schools often has to be used for hunger needs first, further limiting its ability to provide for other school and staff needs, and that should trouble every single one of us. The Olathe School District relies heavily on parent grassroots funding and fundraising, which perpetuates gaps and inequality in opportunities and resources. We cannot allow the quality of a child's educational experience or the staff work environment to depend on how much money their school's PTO can raise, because what we're really saying is some kids deserve more than others, and some teachers are expected to produce the same outcomes with fewer resources. I don't believe that that reflects the values of our community or our public school system. This is not just a disparity, it's a structural barrier. This is not an accident, it's a result of systemic inequity. And it's not just unfair, it's unacceptable. Yes, the district provides certain resources to title schools for a few things: math and reading staff, literary night grants, Maverick field trips for 3rd graders, and I don't want to discount any of those in any way. But relying on parent fundraising to fill the gaps means that those federal resources and state resources are still insufficient to provide equitable opportunities district-wide. These disparities are recognized and seemingly accepted. Hanging our hat on the few things that are provided while ignoring the rest of the needs is, again, unacceptable. I'm not here to blame, I'm here to ask. What are we going to do about it? What more can we do to ensure that students and staff needs are met and educational opportunities are equitable? What more can we do to provide equal access to enrichment programs and decrease food insecurity? How can we secure more corporate sponsorships for Title I schools to reduce the reliance on parent funding? This is not about punishing successful PTOs or their corporate sponsors. It's about recognizing that public education is meant to be a level playing field, not reinforce existing divides. We're not just talking about money, we're talking about opportunity, enrichment, and the subtle ways we send messages to children and staff about what they're worth. Is the value of a Clearwater Creek student more than the value of a Ridgeview Elementary student? Is the importance of a teacher at Havencroft less than the importance of a teacher at Manchester Park? No. Then why are we accepting any example of unequitable funding or opportunity? Why is it just an accepted fact? So I'm asking, can the USD 233 create a district-level equity fund or matching grant program, potentially allocating supplemental dollars to schools with limited PTO revenue? Could we create a prioritized district initiative to secure multiple corporate sponsors for Title I schools, potentially even asking our current corporate sponsors if they would additionally support a Title I school? Could the Olathe School District secure field trips for every Title I school grade level, not just third grade, to offset some of the field trip costs to PTOs? Could the Olathe School District do more to combat food insecurity on non-school days? And could we offer proactive support and training to Title I PTOs, helping them build capacity, I'm almost done, and access to community partners and execute effective events?
Thank you, Ms. Bradrick. Megan Briggs.
Good evening, Board of Education. My name is Megan Bricks, and I'm the proud general music teacher at Forest View Elementary School. I'm beyond excited to be here tonight as we have officially kicked off our 25-26 school year. Last week, we welcomed over 175 new educators into our Olathe Public Schools, and this week we welcome back all of our returning educators. I know that this will be an incredible school year. Tonight, I'm here to highlight some truly amazing people in our school district. Tonight, I want to give a huge shout out to our interpreters who support our students, families, staff, and buildings with translation and interpreting services to ensure that all of our students, families, and staff needs are met here in our Olathe Public Schools. At the registration support event this year, there were district departments and interpreters representing 16 different languages. This past week, I had the opportunity to meet and speak with two of our sign language interpreters. These two fantastic sign language interpreters are currently supporting this Board of Education meeting on the live stream. Hello. I'm extremely thankful for all that they do to support us and make our Board of Education meetings accessible to all on our YouTube channel. Tonight, I'm here to shine a spotlight on all of our staff in our school district who support translating and interpreting to meet all of our needs. Thank you for all that you do. Your work is extremely valuable and you are appreciated. I'm excited for this school year and thank you all so much. This is our Olathe Public Schools.
Thank you, Ms. Briggs. Board, we will move to action consent items. I would welcome a motion 6.01 to 6.06. Is there a motion?
I move to approve action consent 6.01 to 6.06.
Second.
Is there a second? I'm sorry.
Becky? Yes.
Motion by Ms. Steele, second by Ms. Johan.
Mrs. Reagan.
Yes.
Dr. Yurkovich.
Yes.
Mrs. Steele.
Yes.
Mr. Boyd.
Yes.
Mr. Babbitt.
Yes.
Mrs. Johan.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Action bids, contracts, and agreements, items 7.01 to 7.07.
I move to approve action items 7.01 through 7.07 as presented.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Babbitt, second by Mr. Boyd. Before we vote, Josh, would you like to clarify, Mr. Humphreys, sorry, would you clarify and share some information on 7.05, I believe it is?
No worries. Mr. Josh is fine, by the way. So. To draw your attention to 7.05, the IT help desk ticketing software and solutions. If you remember last year, we transitioned from our legacy IT ticketing software to a newer version. As part of that transition, we wanted to identify what the software provided, what it could do to better support our systems. And as a result, we saw several key features in this new ticketing software that's actually going to be able to enhance some of the, I would call them, blind spots that we had in our previous ticketing software. One in particular is asset management, so to better identify where our assets are, who they are with. So let's say a student's device gets broken. We have the ability to ID that device, check it into our help desk for repair, check that student out a replacement device while his device is being repaired, bring that back. That can all be done within the ticketing system as part of one of these new modules that we're bringing on, as well as some enhanced workflows that are going to take some of our kind of legacy workflows that we had utilized in other systems and actually take those out, of what we purchased out of some of our other systems. So this is kind of in kind of looking forward, it's to make more of our processes around technology happen in one place rather than in multiple. And we wanted to identify better over the last year whether or not this system would be a good fit for that. And we see it as a very positive replacement to what we had, and being able to take some of those legacy softwares and move them out of our system and replace it with this. So that's kind of why you see that increase in cost.
Thank you for that clarification. There is a motion for items 7.01 to 7.07. Ms. Beam?
Mrs. Steele?
Yes.
Mrs. Reagan?
Yes.
Mr. Boyd?
Yes.
Mrs. Johan?
Yes.
Mr. Babbitt?
Yes.
Dr. Yurkovich?
Yes. Motion passes 6-0. Moving on to action other items. The first is a reference Mr. Hutchison made in his presentation tonight. Notice of hearing to consider exceeding the revenue neutral rate. I would accept a motion to approve that.
I move to approve the notice of hearing to consider exceeding the revenue neutral rate publication in the Kansas City Star on August 24th, 2025.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Boyd. I didn't catch the second. I'm sorry. Ms. Reagan?
Dr. Yurkovich?
Yes.
Mrs. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Babbitt?
Yes.
Mr. Boyd?
Yes.
Mrs. Reagan?
Yes.
Mrs. Johan?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Item 8.02, fiscal year 2026, notice of hearing on the budget publication.
I move to approve the notice of hearing publication for the 2026 fiscal year budget in the Kansas City Star on August 24th, 2025.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Reagan, second by Mr. Boyd.
Mrs. Johan?
Yes.
Mr. Boyd?
Yes.
Mr. Babbitt?
Yes.
Dr. Yurkovich?
Yes.
Mrs. Steele?
Yes.
Mrs. Reagan?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Item 8.03, board policy updates.
I moved to approve the recommended action consistent with the recommendation of the Board of Education's Legislative Policy Committee. A new policy, CH, is presented for the board's consideration. Am I reading the whole thing? That's what I do? Okay. Further, with the input of district administration, certain updates of board policies, GCRGA, GCRGE, and GCS are also presented.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Johan, second by Mr. Babbitt.
Mrs. Reagan?
Yes.
Dr. Yurkovich?
Yes.
Mrs. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Babbitt?
Yes.
Mr. Boyd?
Yes.
Mrs. Johan?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Dr. Yurkovich, do you mind if I make a quick comment?
Sure.
I just wanted to mention quickly, and those board policies is a new board policy, not just an update, and that's policy CH. And that policy, thanks to the policy committee and the work of our board, really just solidifies our firm commitment around protecting our students from inappropriate behavior by any adults or staff members in our district. And, our board has done such a good job of acting swiftly and assertively when those things have happened. But, we certainly want to do everything we can to protect our kids. And so I just want to thank the board for considering a policy like that, investing in a policy like that, because it does just solidify the expectation that while our kids are in our hands in our district, they are safe. So thank you for that.
Thank you, and thanks to the policy committee and you and Mr. Pittman for presenting that this evening. 8.04, repurposing of Westview Elementary School. Is there a motion?
I move to repurpose Westview Elementary School.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Boyd, a second by Ms. Reagan. And Dr. McMullen is going to, before we take a vote, share some information.
Yes, thank you. So just kind of a refresher, because we've been obviously working on this for quite some time, so I just want to remind the board and the public where we are and starting with how we got here. So our district has a boundary study group that's been in place for over 20 years, and that group continually analyzes enrollment, number of buildings, capacity, future developments, space concerns, programming, many things. Westview has been on the radar of our boundary study group for many years. Their enrollment has flatlined at 150 students, and I'll show a little more information on that in a minute. You know, our data across the district has shown a decline since 2019, and that is in line with surrounding districts, both in Johnson County, in the KC metro area, and frankly nationally, and shared that in the April enrollment presentation. And obviously our district needs have shaped the recommendation before you tonight to repurpose Westview Elementary. A little more data that goes into the decision. You know, in 2002, our elementary enrollment was 12,457 students. And, you know, to kind of keep in mind that number included sixth grade students from 2002 to 2010. 2010, as a reminder, is when we moved our sixth graders up to middle level and our ninth graders up to the high school level. This past year, our elementary enrollment was 12,615. So essentially the same number of elementary students in 2002 versus what we currently have. However, since 2002, during that high period of growth, we built 8 new elementary schools. And since 2002, we've also added 42 classrooms in additions at multiple locations. So, you know, the reality is, looking at our current numbers and projected numbers, is that we are in the need to have discussions in the future about right-sizing our district and you know, making sure the number of buildings and facilities we're running and operating align with our current enrollment and future enrollment. So as a reminder about Westview, you'll see here on the boundary map, it is the pink color there. Their boundary is K7 Parker to the west, Santa Fe to the north, and then railroad tracks provide a natural boundary between Westview and Central. So again, here's Westview's enrollment, looking back the previous 5 years to this year, and then looking forward to the next 5 years. And again, they are literally flatlined in that 150 range. That current number includes 30 students who are on transfer as well. So our goals for repurposing Westview, and one is, should the board take this recommendation, is moving as many of the Westview students together to their new school as possible. Obviously, we want to keep those students together and that community together as best that we can. Certainly create boundaries that solve enrollment trends and projections for the future in surrounding schools, because what we don't want to do is be back right up here with schools in very close proximity that have similar enrollment challenges. So we want to make sure we solve those problems as well. We don't want to put any school in a tough spot by raising their capacity over 85% and making them overcrowded with boundary adjustments. And then certainly ongoing communication and support for the Westview staff as they go and potentially move to new homes in 26, 27. So a reminder on the timeline that we've been through the last 4 months. So again, in April at the board meeting, we had the enrollment presentation where we really looked globally at our district numbers, both past, present, and future. April 30th, we went and met with the Westview staff to inform them of a future action item that was going to be the next day. It's a step we hadn't done in the past, frankly, for any topic that we present on at board meetings, but felt the staff was owed to hear that in person versus watching a board meeting. So then on May 1st, we had the future action item recommending to repurpose Westview. May 2nd, we sent communication out to the staff and community about the future action item. Went out and met with the Westview staff, had human resources, general administration, Dr. Yeager, myself, to answer questions, get feedback, et cetera. Then we had a parent meeting prior to the end of school where we presented the what and the why, answered questions, and then had a feedback process where parents could submit feedback to the Board of Education to consider. Board received all the information prior to the June 5th meeting, and then the original timeline was for the board to take action at the July 10th meeting. When we got to that point, we had a few board members out for different reasons and felt it was important to have as much of the board here as possible for this decision. So the agenda item was moved to this month, and here we are tonight. Pending action, the next steps are in September, we'll have boundary meetings in the potentially affected attendance areas. And then parents and staff will have an opportunity to provide feedback to the board again on the next big decision, which is what the boundaries look like as we make adjustments. Does this look like? How do you apply for certain jobs at certain schools? What are your preferences, et cetera? So we feel this timeline is appropriate. And then, there'll be plenty of opportunities for students to go to their new school next semester for tours, meet the principal, meet staff, tour the building, et cetera. So that being said, I'd stand for any questions.
Jim, I'm so sorry. Jim, would you briefly just talk about with the board's potential action tonight, what would happen in terms of just the next 24 hours in notifying the Westview community, that kind of piece, should the board take our recommended action?
Sure. So in working with Mrs. Grubel in communications, they have communication ready should the board take action, outlining to the parents, again, the what and the why, the decision, and then the next steps as well. And that'll go out tonight.
Thank you. Thank you. Board, before we take a vote, if you have any questions for Dr. McMullen, or if you would just like to make comments on your vote or this process, now would be appropriate. Mr. Boyd.
Dr. McMullen, did you, of the 150-ish kids at Westview, did you say 30 transfer into Westview?
Correct. So there's about 120 that live in that attendance area.
Okay. And of those 30 that transfer in, is there a particular reason? Is it a program or services offered at Westview?
No, it is just parent initiated.
Okay. Thank you.
Ms. Steele.
I don't have any additional questions other than the ones I've already asked, but I do have a statement, if that would be okay.
You bet.
So the decision before us tonight is not one that I've taken lightly. Over the past few months, I've taken time to additionally inquire both deeper and at a surface level to fully understand the implications and the context of this decision. And while there are many layers, what I want to focus on this evening, just briefly, if you'll entertain me, is something that is much broader and frankly much bigger than just our district, and that's birth rate decline. At the crux of this decision is a problem that the seven of us can't fix, but it is still ours to solve. There's several reasons why we're being faced with this decision, but birth rate decline is very real, and it's not just here at home. But I will say across the United States, our replacement birth rate, the number we need to sustain our economic machine, is 2.1, and today we're at 1.6, which is a 25% drop. So what does that mean, and why does it matter? Fewer births mean fewer students in our classroom, and it shows up in very real ways, such as tonight, but in staffing decisions, in building utilization, in budget planning. We're not the first district to face this, and I will tell you, we will not be the last. This will not be the last time difficult decisions like this will be required. We've seen the data points, and we've heard Dr. McMullen's presentation several times. Thank you. I want to thank him along with Dr. Yeager and our staff for the incredible amount of work that's gone into this process. They've fielded every question our board has thrown their way, and regardless of how the vote goes tonight, I want the public to know there is no rubber stamping here. Hard questions have been asked. Alternative options have been explored and vetted. To our Westview families, I want to speak to you directly. Please know that our care and concern for our students, for your family, and for our staff has been and continues to be paramount. I also recognize that tonight it may not feel that way, and that is hard. This decision does not mark the end of a conversation, but a continuation. There are more decisions to come, and we want and need your ideas, your input, and your voice at the table. So tonight, this is a hard chair to sit in, but I remind myself of the responsibilities we have as board members. One is to set policy, and we did some of that tonight. 2 is to hire and evaluate our superintendent. And last, but it's never the last thing, is to be efficient and responsible with our taxpayers' hard-earned dollars. So sitting here is often the cross-section of so much joy and celebration mixed with painful, hard decisions. Even so, I pledge to serve our community with honesty even when it's difficult. So 2 things can be true. Doing the right thing can also mean a really hard decision. So thank you, Dr. McMullen, for all the work that's gone into it, and I appreciate the information you've provided along the way.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Steele. I will just add also to our Westview community, we recognize change is difficult. And obviously this is a change for the students, for the families, for the staff, but Ms. Steele has identified a number of points, and there has been a lot of conversation and reflection, and before it ever came public for conversation with the board and with others. I actually drove by Westview today because it is such a part of the history of Olathe and Olathe Public Schools. And the structure will remain there. That history and people's connection to that will not go away because we repurpose the building. But we do, as Ms. Steele has indicated, have a responsibility to the district as a whole, to all 30,000, almost 30,000 students, and to the future of our district as well. So I will also say my thank you to Dr. McMullen for leading us through this process, and for the others senior leadership team and others on the boundary committees and enrollment committees. Board, any other comments? Ms. Reagan.
I don't have much else to say than my colleagues have already mentioned. I did want to thank Dr. McMullen for seeing this through to this night where we're taking a vote. And I do appreciate the theme that Mrs. Steele brought up, that we can hold 2 truths. You know, a decision can be difficult and hard, but it can also be the correct course of action. And when people run for office and choose to sit in this seat, you have to be willing to make those hard decisions, and I am grateful for the board up here who will stand with our district in times of joy and in times of challenge. And the future is uncertain in some extent, but I feel most certain that our district will keep on a course that will bring our kids into a bright future. So this conversation will be ongoing, not necessarily with Westview in particular, but the challenges we're facing, it's a new chapter in our district, and new can be scary, but it can also be great. And so while tonight is heavy, we have the next page to look forward to pending board action. So I appreciate everyone who's done work on this, and I know that this has been hard for those families directly impacted, and please know that we do see that.
Okay, Mr. Babbitt?
The only thing I wanted to add, just most of it's just echoing what these folks have said, but a important part to me is what it's being repurposed as. The alternative ed program as presented by the GA group has been, I think, is extremely needed by this district, and it will be a great next chapter in Westview's future if the board takes this action. So I do think that it's a next chapter in it, but I think it's a very important chapter. That's all.
Thank you. So we have a motion by Mr. Boyd and a second by Ms. Reagan to repurpose Westview Elementary School.
Mr. Boyd?
Yes.
Mrs. Reagan?
Yes.
Mr. Babbitt?
Yes.
Dr. Yurkovich?
Yes.
Mrs. Steele?
Yes.
Mrs. Johan?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Thank you, board. Future action items are listed. There are a couple of things I want to draw attention to. 9.12, board policy updates. There are some additional updates to our current board policy. And then 9.13, Board of Education committee assignments. I will be sending an email to board members asking you to identify your preferences of which committees you would like to serve on for the 25-26 school year. And then next month, we will actually approve those committees with appointments. So please watch for that in the next couple of days. And attached to that item is a list of the committees. Written information, again, thanks to Mr. Palangi for the updates on the bond issue. I know I, for one, am excited to be in the new OPSIC on the 18th to see it in real life, not just photographs. And topics for discussion. Board members, any comments? Ms. Johan.
As we close the summer and get ready for school year, I just wanted to give a big thank you to our partners at Johnson County Parks and Rec. They did a great job taking care of my kiddos and a lot of other kiddos here in our district. And so we had some really fabulous memories made, and lots of swimming days, lots of Kona ice. And then I just wanted to give the team at Manchester Park, Miss G, as they call her, and Alexis, who led the team there, did a lot of really fun activities, and one of them I thought was very unique but really cool. Made a Space Maker Day, and which I guess equates to some food truck sort of things where the kids got to get creative and design their own little booth, and parents and family members were allowed to come in, get 3 tickets to try things. And so I had smoothies and protein, peanut butter balls and sushi. There was a variety of other things I could try, but I only had 3 tickets. So I just thought that was a really great thing, and the kids were excited about it. They worked on it for a good portion of the summer. And so just thank you again for giving my kiddos and other kiddos a good place to be, stay busy, get tired, and enjoy their summer while our parents and other family members are working. So thank you.
I may interrupt again just briefly. There's not often a time to do this, but you may have noticed Rob, who comes to every one of our board meetings. He's in the purple shirt back there. Stand up, Rob. It's okay. Rob facilitates our JCPRD in our district and does a great job and comes to every single board meeting. So thank you for being here, and thanks for all you do.
Ms. Reagan.
All right. Well, I just had a few, school is coming thoughts. So welcome to our new staff, our new educators, especially those ones where it's their first time in a classroom. I know that your first year is one you will never forget. 2, 3, and 4 kind of blur together in my mind. But that first year, I can still picture a lot of those students in my mind's eye. And to those who are coming to us from other places, we are so excited to have you here in Olathe. And to another really important group, welcome back to our returning staff. Those who have been with us for years, those who have been with us for decades, thank you for coming back and being here for our kids in whatever capacity you serve. Our district would not be what we are without the support of returning staff members. What are you doing? Must be stop talking. And another thing I want to touch on, especially when we're talking about money, is that advocacy works. When we use our voices to advocate to the state and federal governments for the things that we need to make Olathe Public Schools what we all know it can be, our voices as a collective force are important and they work. And when we put pressure on elected officials, and we do it as a group, our district leaders in our community sent a letter to the federal government. The governor signed on with other governors to send letters. And they do that because our leaders can do that because they know our constituency, the families that we serve are behind them. So please continue to use your voices to advocate. We will have a new funding formula coming out in a couple of years, but the people who are going to decide that are in our legislature. And the entire House of Representatives will be on the ballot next year, and some people are already beginning to campaign. So please keep your finger on the pulse of that. Finally, in the face of all this uncertainty, I can't speak highly enough for how proud I am of our district, the leadership we have shown, the outspokenness, the unabashed pride we have for the important work that our staff does to educate our kids. I am so proud to sit on this dais, and I'm even prouder to be a parent of kids in this district, knowing that the people in this room and the educators in our classrooms and in our buildings and across our community have our kids' backs. That is huge. In a time when things can feel, as Mrs. Steele said, kind of muddy and murky and we don't know, I am certain about our Olathe Public Schools. And heading into this school year, I am so excited for the road ahead, and I hope you are too.
Thank you. Ms. Steele.
So there's some important meetings coming up next week. I just wanted to draw attention to them. One is our State Board of Ed meets next week, and they're going to be voting on cut scores. So I think it's important that we all tune into how that goes. I believe that affects Kansas assessments from the spring, but also going forward. Is that right? Yeah. And then also, as Ms. Reagan mentioned, our State Education Funding Task Force meets next week as well. They are having those initial conversations and doing homework to learn about different ways that other states, but also the history that has been in the state of Kansas for funding public education. So at the end of next week, they're meeting to discuss specifically special education. I'm planning to go. I know a couple of us are planning to go. So I encourage, if you have that availability to go, that's great. And if not, please watch online. I think it's important to have people in the room, and we have not been asked to give testimony. Nobody has, but I think when more people show up and they see the interest, that becomes a very real possibility. And then I want to talk just a minute about at the federal level. The funds that were impounded were released, but that doesn't mean we can take a big breath and think that all of that is over. Congress, is on their, summer vacation. They're all home now, so it's a great time to get in touch with them. Appropriations, the Senate Appropriations, Jerry Moran sits on that. And so what a great time to see if you can get, probably not some FaceTime, but maybe, but to contact him. What they passed was mostly level funding for K-12. But the House is really going to get after that when they get back from their summer solstice. And in the president's budget, the Department of Ed proposes a $12 billion cut to K-12, which translates to about $200 million for the state of Kansas. So while our legislators are on recess, please get in touch. As Claire said, it really does matter when we let them know how we feel and that we want to support public education. So the senators are Moran and Marshall, and our representatives for Kansas are Mann, Schmidt, Davids, and Estes. So please take a minute to reach out to them. And to wrap up, here we grow with school year 25-26. See what I did there? And although there is work to be done, we have the best of the best here in Olathe, and it's going to be a great year. And while I'm confident that the solutions to all the challenges we are facing are going to be hard, they are going to be found here in Olathe. So thank you.
Anyone else, board? I'll add just a couple of more thank yous, and I'm actually going to start with thanks to our staff who offer summer opportunities for kids. Ms. Johan mentioned JCPRD, but we have a number of camps in the summer as well, theater and visual arts and sports camps, and personally, my grandkids took advantage of a number of them and had wonderful experiences in all of them. So thanks to our staff who continue to share and work with kids in the summer. Also, and I'm sure Dr. Yeager is going to say these thank yous too, but with new educators starting last week, thanks to Learning Services and HR for the breakfast, welcoming them last Friday, and then to the foundation for the social, which is always a good time, and new educators to our district go home with prizes and money and all kinds of things. Best of luck and have a great year to our admin, and we have several buildings with new admin or admin teams, and so our thoughts are with you as you lead your building and sometimes in a new place and building new relationships. Also to the office staff and custodial staff and our district facilities who have been working to have those buildings and classrooms ready for our educators. And I think, to, again, Learning Services and Calendar Committee. Dr. Yeager mentioned earlier about our dialogues, and very strongly we received feedback that teachers wanted some additional time at the beginning of the year to prep. And so yesterday, right, was that day. And so thanks to those who were responsive, and ONEA is sitting in the back of the room, and they were part of that decision-making as well. So, and to all of you, have a great year.
Well, thank you for navigating several challenging issues tonight. I can't tell you how much we appreciate this Board of Education and all that you do to meet the needs of our students and our staff and our community. I will just say that what I've shared with lots of groups as we've started the year is there is always such a positivity around the start of the school year, and that I think waxes and wanes. Is that how you're supposed to say that? I'm now very conscious about what I say in the microphone because it follows me for a long time. But that happens during the year, just based on things. And, so the challenge I've been giving, and I gave it to our new teachers and our folks we've hired into the system the other day and continue to say it to groups is, being happy is really a choice, and, focusing on the good things that are happening is a choice. So, I would say say as we move forward in the school year, just everybody remember the positivity that's happening right now as we're just so excited about coming back to school. It's great. And with that theme, I wanted to share, I spent some time over winter break cleaning out other people's things that are still in my office. And I found a letter from August 8th, 1955 that is actually 70 years ago tomorrow from W.B. Kintai, who was the superintendent of Olathe Public Schools, District number 16 at that time. And so we were a district before consolidation. We were District 16. I didn't know that. But I just want to give you 3 bullets from this letter. It's relatively short. It was not done on a computer or word processor. I'm pretty certain it was a typewriter, and I haven't seen that for a long time, so I had to reacclimate myself. But nonetheless, here's some of the things it says, and this went to our teaching staff. It says, your very important work as a teacher in our public school system is soon to begin. I'm looking forward to being present for our first faculty meeting. Note that. All the staff in the district, first faculty meeting, one meeting, everybody together. Friday, September 2nd. This guy was really prepared. This was August 8th for a meeting on September 2nd. At 9 a.m. at the Central School Auditorium. The afternoon will be used for faculties of each school to meet with their respective principal to make plans for enrollment. So that's good. We were focused on enrolling kids 70 years ago. This one I really like, and some in the room may not, but it says, special meetings may be called by administrators on Saturday morning. How about that? But there will be no school on September 5th. And then the part I love at the bottom, and this is so true today, it says, I pledge you my loyal, sincere cooperation. With your help, we can make this school year both enjoyable and successful for the children of our community. So anyway, it was just really fun to read that. And I did not think about sending a letter to our staff saying meetings might be scheduled on Saturday mornings. So I'm not sure how that would go over. One other celebration, and this will be shared some, but all school districts and superintendents across the nation, we get several times a year a publication called School CEO, and it highlights just great things school districts are doing across the nation. And in the summer edition of the magazine, the publication, there are 3 school districts that are listed because of the incredible branding and imaging work that they did with their systems. And I'm just proud to share that for our comms team and the great work they did, Olathe Public Schools is one of the 3 districts nationally that was highlighted in this publication that went to all school districts across the country. So pretty cool and thing to share tonight as well. So I think that's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Board, we do not have an executive session this evening, so if someone would like to make a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Reagan, second by Ms. Johan.
Mr. Boyd?
Yes.
Mrs. Reagan?
Heck yeah.
Mrs. Johan?
Yes.
Mr. Babbitt?
Yes.
Mrs. Steele?
Yes.
Dr. Yurkovich?
Yes, meeting is adjourned.